worried about next election day. News today that may give hope from the same man who handed Democrats massive gains in 2006 and 2008. That's right, America. George Bush is back. Our fourth story tonight, in his comeback speech today at Southern Methodist University, home of Please Don't Laugh, the George W. Bush Presidential Center. Mr. Bush had a subtle message for teabaggies, a not-so-subtle message for President Obama, and for humanity at large, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language: I'm George W. Bush, and I'm here to help. Mr. Bush was announcing plans for, again, don't laugh, the George W. Bush Institute, which will pursue real-world change in areas of education, global health, freedom, and economic growth. In discussing economic growth, Mr. Bush, apparently embarrassed by a rare success, tried to distance himself from and make excuses for helping to prevent a global economic meltdown last year.
I believe the role of government is not to create wealth, but to create the conditions that allow entrepreneurs and innovators to thrive. I believe in the power of free enterprise, which made the decision I faced last fall one of the most difficult of my presidency. I went against my free market instincts and approved a temporary government intervention to unfreeze the credit markets so that we could avoid a major global depression.
Of course, it's never too late to return to the same free market instincts that made a major global depression possible. And Mr. Bush confirmed that is exactly what his institute will try to do, with a thinly veiled criticism of President Obama's handling of the economy, which is now stabilized, thank you very much, but also of Mr. Obama's attempt to restore the Wall Street rules that Mr. Bush and his cronies helped strip away, leading to last year's crisis.
As the world recovers, we're going to face a temptation to replace the risk and reward model of the private sector with the blunt instruments of government spending and control. History shows that the greater threat to prosperity is not too little government involvement, but too much. The Bush Institute will devote itself to promoting economic growth at home and abroad.
But whose economic growth? Fox News's? They broadcast this thing live. Yours? Don Evans, who introduced Mr. Bush, and you see there, not only served as Mr. Bush's Commerce Secretary while the administration ignored and exacerbated the seeds of the crisis, but after leaving the administration, he became CEO of the Financial Services Forum. It only has 18 members, among them the CEOs of AIG, Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and UBS. It's currently devoted to opposing, bingo, re-regulation of Wall Street. And the Bush Institute itself, described by Mr. Bush as nonpartisan, its advisory board in full, the provost at SMU, Major Bush supporter Ray Hunt, Bush Secretary of State Condi Rice, Bush brother Jeb Bush, and Bush unrequited love Karl Rove. Nonpartisanship, Bush style. Let's turn now to MSNBC political analyst Jonathan Alter, also national affairs columnist for Newsweek magazine. John, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
His bailout may have saved the world, so naturally he has to apologize for it a year later?
Yeah, next thing you know, he's going to apologize for, I don't know, AIDS relief in Africa, or what was the other good thing he did?
Yeah, I think he may have covered them both.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's rather peculiar because when you study that period, if he hadn't done that, we would be in a depression now. Mm-hmm. And yet he's basically saying that there aren't really any lessons for us to learn except to go back to the bad old days of unfettered greed when there was basically no regulation to speak of Wall Street.
In other words, what happened to the economy last year was just a piece of a plane fell out of the sky, an engine fell out of the sky. Now we clean that up so everything is just fine, and he is devoting this institute to working on essentially reestablishing the lack of regulation, the lack of planning, the lack of cultural, societal responsibility. What does that mean in terms of Wall Street?
Well, it makes me wonder, the global health things he's going to do, I'm sure will be fine, but when he talks about advancing, free market ideas here in the United States, is he going to get together with the Club for Growth, the Hair Club for Growth, whatever you call it? That these folks are essentially lobbying with Wall Street to weaken regulations. They're getting involved in political campaigns to get free market conservatives elected to Congress. Now, obviously, his institute won't do that explicitly, but it sounds like they're going to be on the same page.
But he does talk about spreading freedom to Cuba and Venezuela, and did he mention how he spread freedom to Afghanistan?
Yeah, 8 years. This is the thing that I think people don't understand about the deliberations that President Obama is in right now. It's not like he can look at these memos and say, all right, well, let's figure out what to do with a clean slate. We're 8 years down the road, 8 years of failure in Afghanistan. And there are so many other legacies that Obama is dealing with, too, from the Bush years. And we could talk all night about them. But on Afghanistan, one thing I think people don't quite understand is that the military's lesson from Iraq is that never again would they be under-resourced, would they not have the troop strengths that they want. So they are literally fighting the last war, and they are pushing him for more troops because Rumsfeld was successful in going to war with too few troops in 2003. So pretty much every place that Obama turns, he faces the mess that Bush left him. It's kind of like a shovel brigade after the elephants.
But there's something that's left out of this equation, which is he's not looking for, it's the magic solution. I found it. This is the thing that's going to solve everything. It's which of these 34 options is the least worst in Afghanistan.
Right. And there is literally no good way out of this box. So whatever decision he makes, and he'll probably split the difference in some way, it's going to leave a lot of people unhappy and probably not get the job done either way.
Jonathan Alter of Newsweek and MSNBC, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Keith. Sorry to depress you on that.
No, it's the truth.